The alien inspector expected to find a terrified human, but instead she was laughing, surrounded by razor-sharp predator cubs that should have eaten her on sight. V'Ther's 3 eyes widened as his hearts hammered in unison, the forest around him alive with the distant sounds of snarls, snapping branches, and something far heavier moving beneath the canopy. His mandibles clicked nervously, a habit he couldn't stop even as he tried to remind himself of procedure. Every instinct screamed danger, every survival protocol screamed at him to back away, but curiosity pinned him to the spot. The human, small and lithe by alien standards, knelt among the cubs, brown skin glinting with sweat under the harsh sun of Targon 7. Her dark hair was tied back, but strands stuck to her forehead as she reached for a quivering mass of black and silver fur. Careful, she said, her voice warm and light, like a melody that had no business echoing across this deadly world. One of the cubs leapt at her, teeth bared, claws extended, and she caught him mid-pounce, laughing as the creature tumbled into her arms. V'Ther's breathing, shallow and rapid, betrayed him. This was not protocol. This was not a training exercise. The Federation manuals were clear. Razorback juveniles were aggressive, unpredictable, and capable of killing an adult human within seconds. Yet here she was, arms wrapped around one, whispering encouragements, scratching under ears, quills flattening at her touch as if submission had been instinctively programmed into them. "Inspector, are you seeing this?" His comms crackled and he nearly dropped his scanner. A distant voice from orbit asked if he was engaging the extraction team. The alien hesitated, jaw frozen. "Hold fire," he muttered, voice rough with disbelief. "Do not engage. The human, she is interacting with the predators." From his vantage point behind a gnarled tree, V'Ther noted the cubs' attention divided between each other and the human, their movements playful rather than threatening. One rolled onto its back, exposing 6 legs tipped with tiny venomous claws. The human, with astonishing calm, rubbed its belly, and it let out a soft rumble that could have been mistaken for purring. "She's smiling?" V'Ther whispered, almost to himself. "Is that what I think it is?" A sudden low growl echoed from deeper in the forest. The inspector froze. His scanner screamed the presence of multiple life signs approaching, massive and deliberate. The mother, Luna. His training screamed at him. Stay hidden, prepare for attack, retreat if possible. The human, however, didn't flinch. She glanced over her shoulder and called, "Oh, that's just Luna checking in. She won't hurt us." V'Ther's 3 eyes darted toward the source. A shadow moved between the trees, immense and graceful despite the raw power it radiated. Quills bristling, muscles rippling beneath thick skin, the apex predator stepped into a clearing bathed in the late afternoon sun. Its eyes, molten and intelligent, locked on the human, and every fiber of the inspector's body tensed. The creature's sheer size made his chest constrict. His weapon itched in his hand. She knows her name," he whispered, barely audible. The human waved one hand and spoke softly. "It's okay, Luna. Everything is fine. You're just checking on your babies." The enormous predator tilted its head, sniffed the air, then lowered itself, nudging the human gently with a snout that could crush V'Ther's torso. His mouth went dry. Every survival instinct screamed attack, every rational thought screamed caution, but she simply stroked the creature's silver-striped head, murmuring, "Good girl. Yes, you're a good girl." The cubs scattered, bounding toward their mother in a flurry of fur, quills rattling, tails swishing, yet none showed aggression toward the human or the alien. One, the smallest, sniffed V'Ther's leg cautiously. His mandibles trembled as he realized the quills, tipped with deadly venom, lay flat, soft under his touch. He stumbled backward slightly. Don't move suddenly," the human instructed calmly, her eyes glinting with amusement. "They're just curious. That's all." V'Ther's scanner beeped insistently. Energy spikes, massive life readings, everything suggested extreme threat, immediate danger. Yet here he was, crouched on the forest floor, trembling, while the human laughed as a cub wrapped around her arm, nearly toppling her. I am witnessing something impossible," he muttered. Suddenly the ground shivered beneath a thunderous step. Luna, the mother, was moving closer. Her presence radiated authority, an instinctual warning, yet the human remained rooted, smiling, welcoming. One step, then another, her eyes never leaving the human's. V'Ther's hand hovered over his weapon. Every protocol screamed fire. Every calculation screamed retreat. But then he noticed the human's calm demeanor, the trust between her and the apex predator, the laughter that filled the tense clearing like sunlight. She commands them?" V'Ther whispered, disbelief etched in every line of his body. She's alive among predators, without fear. The mother predator stopped mere meters away, towering over both the cubs and the alien. Vither could feel the vibrations of her growl, the raw power in her muscles, the danger in her fangs. One step closer and instinct demanded a reaction, any reaction. Yet the human knelt, extended a hand, and whispered something incomprehensible to the giant predator. A low rumble answered her. Vither's pulse raced. He realized then that nothing in his 30 cycles of inspection had prepared him for this. These were not animals to be feared or killed, they were family at least to her. But could the same be true for him? Could he survive the next moments without breaking protocol? The sun dipped lower, shadows stretching across the clearing. Vither's weapon remained unraised, yet every nerve in his body screamed caution. The cub's eyes flicked between him and their mother, quills bristling in silent warning. The mother's gaze sharpened. Vither swallowed hard, knowing instinctively that this encounter would change everything he thought he knew about humans, predators, and the galaxy itself. And then, just as the first orange rays of sunset kissed the forest floor, Luna shifted, lowering her head toward him, quills rattling softly, a silent question. Vither froze, every sensor screaming danger as Luna's massive head hovered inches from his armored chest. He could feel the vibrations of her breath, the weight of her gaze pressing down like a physical force. His mind raced, calculating every escape route, every potential weapon advantage, but the human remained calm, kneeling among the cubs, her dark eyes steady and unafraid. "You can talk to them?" Vither managed, his voice trembling though he tried to sound authoritative. The human tilted her head, smiling faintly, brushing a paw of one cub against her cheek. "Not like you think," she said softly. "I don't command them. I listen. That's the difference." The alien's 3 eyes widened, disbelief etched in every line of his faceplate. Listening? To apex predators capable of tearing him apart in moments? It seemed impossible. Every instinct screamed that the human was courting death. Yet here she was, alive, unharmed, and somehow, in control. Luna shifted, circling the human slowly. The cubs followed, playful and curious, but their eyes darted to Vither. He noticed the subtle signals, tail flicks, ear movements, quill adjustments. These creatures were not mindless beasts. They were thinking, assessing, and most astonishingly, trusting. "She knows their language," Vither whispered to himself. "She understands them." The human crouched lower, murmuring soft words as she stroked Luna's massive head. The apex predator's growl softened into a rumble, a vibration that resonated through the clearing. One of the cubs bounced toward Vither, sniffing the air around his leg, tail swishing cautiously. He held his breath, hand frozen near his sidearm, yet nothing happened. "I'm not afraid," the human said almost casually, noticing his tension. "You don't need to be either. They'll know if you mean harm." Vither's mandibles clicked nervously. I must report this. This is a violation of all containment protocols. They are dangerous, unpredictable. You could die in an instant." The human laughed softly, the sound light but confident. "Maybe. Or maybe they've been waiting for someone who doesn't treat them like monsters." She glanced at Luna. They remember what fear smells like. They don't need it from me." The inspector's gaze darted between her and the predator. Memories of training cycles, simulations, and mission reports all collided with what he was seeing. Fear had always been the tool of survival, the first line of defense against creatures like these. Yet here in the thick Targan forest, fear had no hold. Respect and understanding had replaced it. "Respect?" Vither whispered, almost to himself. The human nodded, crouching lower to scoop up one cub that had wandered too close to a shallow ravine. She held it securely, rubbing its quills gently as it yipped in delight, quills flattening under her touch. "It's the only way. You can't fight them with force. You can't trick them. You meet them on their level. That's how you survive, that's how you live." Vither tried to reconcile the data in his mind. He had never encountered a human capable of such intuition, such calm in the presence of beings that could crush him with a single paw. His limbs felt heavy, his 3 hearts pounding so hard he feared they might rupture. A sudden snapping of branches made him spin. From the shadows, smaller predators stirred, curious but cautious, drawn by the human's presence. Her eyes met his briefly. "See? They want to know you, not hurt you. But you have to show you are not a threat." He took a slow, deliberate step forward, hand raised but empty. Luna's massive head tilted slightly, observing. The cubs circled, sniffing, leaping, and rolling playfully around him, yet no claws were unsheathed, no teeth bared. His chest tightened as adrenaline mixed with awe. What do you feed them?" he asked, voice almost a whisper. "Patience," the human said simply, smiling. "And understanding. You don't just give them food. You give them respect. You give them your attention. That's how trust grows." She gestured at the cubs, who were now playfully climbing over her, tumbling and nipping gently. "They'll test you. They'll bite. They'll scratch. But if you stay calm, they learn you are not their enemy." Vither's scanner beeped urgently, signaling other approaching life forms, Federation drones, team sent to check on him. His mind raced. He knew that any wrong move could trigger disaster. Yet he couldn't look away. The human's connection with the predators was almost hypnotic, magnetic. He realized that survival here depended on more than weapons or protocol. It depended on understanding something beyond his training. A low rumble resonated from Luna. The human reached up, resting her palm on the predator's massive snout. "They know you are new. That's fine. But they'll judge you on your actions, not your intentions. Remember that." Vither swallowed hard. His entire body felt tense, a strange mixture of fear, admiration, and disbelief. Could a human really survive this unthinkable situation? Could he learn from her? Could he trust the creatures? A sudden, sharp movement from the edge of the clearing made him flinch. A shadow darker than the others glided between the trees. Larger, faster, and more dangerous. The cubs hissed, quills rattling. Luna growled, muscles coiling. The human's eyes narrowed. "We're not alone." The shadow moved closer, stretching between the twisted trunks of the Targan forest. Vither's instincts screamed danger, his three hearts hammering like war drums. The human stayed still, squatting among the cubs, her gaze unwavering, her hand resting on Luna's massive head. "They're watching," she whispered, barely audible. "Not all of them are like Luna. Some judge differently." Vither swallowed, tension twisting his mandibles. "If it attacks," he began, but the human shook her head. "Don't think like that. Don't react with fear. Show them respect, not weakness. They'll sense it. Every living thing here senses it." A larger silhouette stepped into the clearing. Its size dwarfed Luna, muscles rippling beneath scaled skin, eyes glowing faintly like embers. The cubs hissed, tails high and quills bristling, but they stayed near the human, their trust obvious. Luna growled low, a sound that rattled Vither's ribcage, yet the human's voice cut through it. "Easy everyone," she said softly. "We're not enemies." The massive predator paused, tilting its head, evaluating. It sniffed the air, the subtle chemical traces of fear or courage reaching deep into instinctual memory. Vither froze, unsure if it was even aware of him, or if his fear alone could provoke it to attack. "Step back slowly," the human said, turning to Vither. "But stay calm. Let it see you are not a threat." He obeyed, moving a careful pace backward. The cubs followed, keeping him in their perimeter like guides. Vither's limbs trembled, and his voice shook despite his training. "This is unprecedented. How do you control them?" "You don't control," she said sharply yet gently. "You earn trust. Fear is easy. Respect is earned." The giant creature sniffed Luna, then the human, its gaze flicking between them. Its growl rumbled deep, like tectonic plates grinding. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Vither's stomach knotted. If it attacked, he could not survive. Not even with weapons. I can try," Vither said, voice trembling. I will stay calm." The human looked at him, eyes sharp but encouraging. "Good. Remember, it reads your energy. Don't lie. Don't panic. Just breathe." He tried. He slowed his breath, focusing on the warmth radiating from the cubs, on Luna's steady presence. Slowly, the giant predator lowered its stance, quills flattening, massive jaws relaxing slightly. Vither felt sweat bead along his armored neck, heart hammering, but relief surged. "You see," she said, nodding toward the predator. "They feel you. They judge your truth. Pretend all you want, but they know it. That's why fear is useless." Vither knelt slightly, unsure if he should reach out. The cubs squealed and pounced between his legs, testing his reaction. He laughed nervously, a sound rough and uncertain, but the cubs accepted it, tumbling back toward the human. Suddenly the forest shivered. Leaves rustled unnaturally, the wind twisting in jagged patterns. Another presence moved through the trees, faster and more intelligent than anything Vither had catalogued. This one was smaller than the last, but it exuded cunning, a predator that calculated instead of lunged. "Something is coming," the human said calmly, rising to her feet. Her hands were empty, but her posture radiated command. The cubs gathered around her, forming a living shield. Luna's growl deepened, resonating like a bass drum. Veether's three eyes darted. We are trapped if it attacks. There's no cover. Trust them, she said. Trust what we have built. They won't let you die if you trust them. A creature lunged from the shadows, sleek and fast, claws extended. The human didn't flinch. She moved with the cubs, dodging the swipe, and whispered soft sounds. The new predator froze mid-motion, ears twitching, unsure. The cubs hissed, tails erect, and Luna's roar split the air. The predator backed away, curiosity overcoming aggression. Veether stared, stunned. I cannot believe this. They obey her? Not obey, the human corrected. They listen. They choose. You don't force them. You become part of their world even briefly. That's the difference between survival and death. The creature retreated into the forest, watching from the shadows. The human exhaled slowly, turning to Veether. See? Fear makes them unpredictable. Confidence makes them cautious. Trust can change everything. He nodded slowly, chest heaving, mind spinning. I never imagined humans could interact like this. With apex predators, and survive. Not survive, she said firmly. Thrive. Fear is a cage. Respect is freedom. That's what I'm showing them and you. A distant, low rumble shook the ground. Veether's head tilted sharply. Another, larger one, he whispered, dread clawing at his chest. The human's gaze darkened, sharp and alert. Yes. And it's not coming to play. The ground trembled again, louder this time, shaking loose leaves and small stones. Veether stumbled backward, eyes wide, his three hearts thundering. The human didn't flinch. She stood among the cubs, calm, her presence a quiet but firm anchor. Stay close, she instructed softly, gesturing with a hand toward the cluster of trees. They can sense fear from miles away. Hold your center. Veether swallowed hard. I don't know if I can. That one is huge, bigger than anything I've ever cataloged. If it charges, then we'll show it something new, she said, eyes narrowing, voice steady. Not aggression. Not submission. Something neither of us has tried before. The massive predator stepped from the shadows, each movement deliberate, its gaze fixed on the human and the cubs. Its skin shimmered with faint iridescence, muscles rolling under scales like liquid metal. The cubs hissed, huddling behind her, but she didn't retreat. Veether's antenna twitched nervously. It's calculating, testing, evaluating every motion. This is survival at a level I've never seen. She nodded, crouching slightly and extending a hand toward the predator, not in threat but in invitation. I'm not your enemy. We can coexist. Watch closely. The predator paused, nostrils flaring, scenting the air. Then, with a sudden burst of speed, it lunged, not at her, but toward a cluster of rocks, scattering them with precision. It stopped, crouched low, watching, its eyes glinting with intelligence. Veether blinked. It's not attacking. It's testing? Yes, she replied. It's seeing if we are predictable. If we are dangerous in ways it doesn't expect. That's the key to survival, learning how they think without losing yourself. The cubs moved between the human and the predator, forming a living barrier. Luna's low growl resonated in the clearing, warning the giant alien that they would fight if necessary. The predator tilted its head, evaluating. Slowly, it lowered its body, moving cautiously closer, sniffing the human scent, then Luna's. Veether exhaled slowly, astonishment clear in his voice. I can't believe this. The bond, it's real. You're not controlling them, yet they obey. No, they choose. She smiled faintly, but her eyes never left the predator. Choice. That's the difference. Fear makes slaves. Respect makes allies. Even apex predators respond to that. Even the most intelligent of hunters. Suddenly, a harsh screech echoed from deeper in the forest. Another figure appeared, faster, sleeker, eyes reflecting a cold intelligence. Veether froze. Another one, and it's coming fast. Good, she said sharply. It means we are not alone. It means the ecosystem is alive and watching. It's our chance to show the full balance, humans, predators, and survival intertwined. The newcomer circled them, agile and silent, studying. The cubs hissed again, but instead of panicking, the human stepped forward slowly, her hands empty. Look at me, she said gently. We are not threats. We are part of this world, at least for this moment. Trust me and trust them. The larger predator moved closer, then paused abruptly. It sniffed the air, then nudged one of the cubs lightly. The cub responded with a tentative nuzzle, and Veether realized something profound. The predators recognized her authority not through fear or dominance, but through her understanding of their instincts. He stepped closer, cautiously mimicking her calm energy. I want to try, he said, voice trembling but determined. Tell me what to do. Breathe. Center yourself. Speak softly, not commands but words that convey awareness and respect, she instructed. Vither focused, lowering his stance, allowing the creatures to sense his sincerity. Slowly the newcomer edged nearer, curiosity overriding aggression. Then a sudden movement from behind them startled Vither. A shadow larger than any he had seen dropped from above. The earth shook violently. The human didn't flinch. She shouted, Luna? All of you circle. The cubs formed a protective ring around her, and even the newcomer and the first giant predator responded, moving to shield the human. Vither's jaw dropped. They're coordinating, defending you? Yes, she said, voice calm but firm. Not me alone. Us. Cooperation. That's how we survive here. Not by weapons. Not by fear. By understanding, by trust, by reading intentions. The massive shadow settled on the ground, revealing itself as an enormous alpha predator. Its scales shimmered like obsidian, eyes burning with an ancient intelligence. It sniffed, low growls vibrating through the air. The human stepped forward, placing herself between the predators and Vither. This is the real test, she whispered. If we survive this, we redefine everything humans think they know about danger, trust, and the wild. Vither's hearts thundered. He felt awe, fear, and hope mix into a strange clarity. He realized that survival wasn't just about strength or speed, it was about connection, understanding, and the courage to stand calm in front of forces far beyond comprehension. The alpha predator tilted its massive head, scanning everyone. Then, slowly, it lowered itself, settling on the ground in a gesture that mirrored the human's calmness. The forest seemed to exhale, tension easing slightly. Vither whispered almost to himself, This is survival, redefined. The human looked at him, eyes glinting. And it's only just begun. The forest was alive with tension, every leaf trembling, every shadow stretching longer under the fading light. The alpha predator had remained still since the encounter, its massive body radiating a quiet authority. Yet Vither sensed the air was not safe. Something else approached, something neither human nor the familiar predators. She's coming, the human whispered, her eyes scanning the treeline. Luna's fur bristled and the cubs crouched low, ready. Vither's hearts raced. Coming? What do you mean? Another apex. Smarter. Faster. It doesn't hunt with claws alone, it hunts with strategy, with thought. It wants to test us, to see if humans belong here. The underbrush cracked violently. A silhouette emerged, sleek, taller than any predator they had faced, with limbs that bent unnaturally and eyes glowing like molten gold. Every instinct screamed danger. The human stepped forward, placing herself between Vither and the approaching threat. Stay calm. Fear is what it feeds on. Show nothing but awareness. The alien moved closer, circling slowly, studying. Then it lunged, not at her but at the cubs. Vither froze. Luna yelped, darting forward, but the human raised a hand. Wait. Don't attack unless I signal. Watch what I do. She knelt, extending her hands and lowering her stance, showing neither fear nor threat. The newcomer paused mid-leap, confused by the absence of panic, by the unusual stillness of a human facing imminent danger. The cubs mirrored her energy, forming a protective yet non-aggressive circle around her. Vither whispered, almost breathless, It's hesitating, because of her? Yes. Because she shows the one thing they do not expect. Understanding, control without violence. The predator's eyes darted, scanning, calculating. Its limbs flexed, ready to strike at any false movement. Then, slowly, it lowered its body, settling a few paces away, acknowledging the unspoken rules of this fragile alliance. The human exhaled slowly. See? We don't dominate them with force. We align with them through intent. Respect. Come. That is our power. Vither's antennas twitched with awe. I never imagined humans could do this. They survive, not by strength but by comprehension. A sudden roar shattered the moment. From the shadows, a massive group of the alien predators emerged, their scales reflecting the dying light, their claws scraping the earth. The alpha led them, moving with precision, muscles coiling like springs. The human's voice rang clear and commanding. All of you circle. Protect, don't attack. The cubs ran forward to flank her. The alpha and the newcomers mirrored her instruction, forming a living barricade, not of hostility but of unity. Vither's eyes widened in disbelief. They're listening, following her lead, not because of fear but choice. She looked at Vither. This is what humans have that others often underestimate: quiet power. The ability to change outcomes by presence, by thought, by emotional alignment. We survive because we adapt, because we understand the mind of those around us. The predators stirred, tense but controlled. The massive newcomer, the one who had tested them, tilted its head. Then, after a moment, it bowed slightly, acknowledging her strategy. The forest seemed to hold its breath. "Now," she whispered, "let's move." They advanced cautiously through the forest, the cubs running close, the larger predators flanking them like silent guardians. Vither followed, feeling a mixture of terror and admiration. It's incredible, she doesn't just survive, she commands presence. Not with weapons, not with dominance, but with something else entirely. Suddenly the terrain shifted, and they found themselves at the edge of a deep ravine. A natural barrier, impossible to cross without risk. The human paused, scanning, then spoke softly to the predators. "Trust me. Follow the path, stay together." One by one, the creatures obeyed, navigating treacherous footing with her guidance. Vither stumbled, but she reached out and steadied him. "Watch carefully. Learn from how they move. Learn from how we survive." Halfway across, a tremor shook the ground. Rocks slid into the ravine, and the massive newcomer growled, teeth flashing, ready to attack anything that fell behind. The human's voice rang out, calm but firm. "Now, keep moving. Focus. Trust." Every creature, every human moved with synchronized precision. Even Vither, whose instincts screamed panic, found himself matching their pace, their timing, their focus. They reached solid ground just as the last boulder tumbled into the abyss. The human turned to face the predators, hands raised, calm energy radiating. The alpha approached her, nudging her lightly, almost as if in gratitude. The cubs nuzzled her, purring low. Vither's voice trembled. I've never seen anything like this. The human, she changed everything. They follow her because they choose to, not because they have to." She smiled faintly, exhaustion in her stance but clarity in her eyes. "This is what humans can do. Quiet, unyielding, intelligent. We survive not by fear, not by power alone, but by understanding the world and those in it. We redefine what survival means, without bloodshed, without dominance, just presence, connection, and courage." Vither's hearts pounded in awe. "We, humans, we can do this?" "Yes," she said softly, watching the predators settle around them like guardians. "This is our quiet power. And it's enough." A wind swept through the forest, carrying a sense of calm after the storm. The predators, once feared as unstoppable forces, now mirrored human composure. Vither realized finally that survival wasn't about weapons or brute force, it was about understanding, trust, and presence. And in that quiet, powerful moment, humanity had triumphed.